POV, you're the second born child at a restaurant and your mum won't give you an iPad. Are we hearing ourselves? So because your daughter can't have an iPad, you're just going to sit there and record her while she makes a complete mess with water and her food that a waiter has to clean up after, because clearly if a screen isn't placed in front of her face to rot her brain, clearly there's no other way for you to entertain her or for you to control her, to tell her no, to tell her to behave. Get off your phone and do something about this. There is something deeply wrong with the way childhood is nowadays. Because this mother sat down with her kids at a restaurant and said, we asked for the kids' colouring menus like usual, and they said, we don't use those anymore, but here are some tablet holders so that the kids can use their iPads more efficiently while having dinner with their family. Now, the only reason that these kids had colouring books and markers at the table is not because of the restaurant, it's because the mum had to bring them to the restaurant herself in a bag to prevent her kids from relying on technology when they get bored while sitting down at a restaurant. When I was a kid and we would go out for dinner as a family, my mum never once had to bring her own colouring books or markers because restaurants have always provided that for children. But now, as we can see, that is quite literally being phased out of their childhood. And we can see with our own two eyes how much they are trying to push this technology onto children by not even giving them a choice of whether or not they want to colour, and are simply now only giving them one option to entertain themselves, because we know for damn sure if there's no colouring books, there's not going to be a damn playground. Otherwise, there is nothing else, and that is disturbing.
So, Story, why did you make your bed like this? Because why?
I want the colors.
You wanted lots of colors?
Yeah.
Wow. That looks really, really good.
Usually kids will want something like Dora the Explorer or Spider-Man in their rooms because that's their favourite character. But otherwise, kids haven't really seemed to care about their bedrooms and what colours are in it. Until now, they're simply beginning to reject it. And like the comments on TikTok were saying, I have never ever seen that before. Because kids' rooms have always been filled with colours. So that was never an issue. But now that there's a lack of any sort of visual stimulation for them in their bedrooms, it's like their brains are becoming sick and tired of how mind-numbingly boring and mundane their environments are. And their brains are demanding that change so that they can develop properly. POV, my daughter ignoring all of her aesthetic Montessori toys for the hideous plastic elephant she picked out herself at a thrift store from 2004. Why are you saying 2004 like that's old? Like that's an old toy. That's 21. I'm 21. I was born in 2004. What are you talking about? What? I don't think a lot of new age mothers realize that they're not the ones playing with these toys. I don't think they understand that. Like, cool, you might like them, but are they for you? Are you gonna be playing with them on an everyday basis? No. So why insist on getting toys that match your aesthetic if they're not gonna be yours? Also, who cares how old the toy is that she picked out? Like, they're not doing it on purpose to spite you. It's just that every single little thing they see in their lives nowadays is sad, is beige, is neutral toned. Everything is the same color. So of course they're gonna be like, oh my god, that's a pink and purple bike. I want that. Their brains are desperate for that saturation. Of course they're not gonna want to pick a toy that looks like a wall. You know?
Hey, so new fear unlocked. Just unlocked a new fear about AI. You do eventually what all parents do, which is you turn to a screen and you say, enjoy 5 minutes with the screen. In this case, my television, right? Babies can watch YouTube on television. That's fine. I put on the YouTube Kids. You know what happened when I opened up the YouTube Kids? I go and I open it up and I see a thing that I recognize from before. I see this thumbnail, which is an exact copy of this book, which I read to my kid all the time. Every parent of a toddler has these first 100 words books. I see this, first 100 words, first 100 animals. I say, let's go. It's just going to be somebody reading this book, right? Wrong. The whole thing is AI. It's all AI. They've stolen literally the art from the fucking book, word for word, bar for bar, but the AI baby voice is mispronouncing shit while they're showing fake AI moving images to my kid who now believes they're real. And I wouldn't blame any parent for falling for this because it is almost exactly the same thing, but they used AI so that way they can't get caught on the fact that they've stolen these images directly. And you can tell because look how that isn't a word. There's actual words in the real original image, but those aren't real words. And then as you start to watch this thing and you get a little bit deeper into it, it shows you AI images of moving things. Like what?
Mobile.
That's not how you pronounce that.
Mobile.
That's not real. I want you to think of all the possible ways to pronounce this word. Think of all the possible ways that Miss Rachel would pronounce this word right here. You ready for it? I don't think you are.
Meek.
Millions of views of faceless AI channels making our kids stupider every single moment of the day.
And that video encapsulates the entire point of my video. How can we sit here and think that this is normal? How can we sit here and not be scared for our lives for the future when this is how kids are learning fundamental skills that they will need for the rest of their lives? This is how they're learning when parents are looking away. Not only is the AI mispronouncing words, therefore making children who consume this content completely illiterate, but the AI is also generating words that are complete gibberish. So not only are they hearing nonsense, but they're reading nonsense at the same time. These kids are going to grow up wildly uneducated because of AI that none of us ever had in our childhoods. And you still want me to support this technology? Unlearning these lessons from AI is going to be torture and hell for their future teachers. Then there was a teacher on TikTok who uploaded a video that said, after teaching my heart out, only to get results like these back, as she shows homework that has been turned in by her students with giant question marks that students have simply skipped, left entirely blank, or drawn on top of because they couldn't be bothered to actually do any work. And the scores that came back for these students, which are nowhere near what they're supposed to be, like a 3 out of 60? That is terrifying! There are endless conversations you could have about that video, but I just find it extremely ridiculous how somebody got into the comment section of that video and said, "Girl, I'm reading those questions and honestly, I wouldn't answer either. It's just not important enough to care." Oh! I'm sorry, but newsflash, it actually isn't up to you what the teacher teaches. And it most certainly isn't up to you to decide whether or not you want to do the work. That is not how a school operates. And that is most certainly not how the real world works either. Let's read some of these unimportant questions then, shall we? List 4 functions of a manager in a workplace. Define teamwork and explain in 2 ways how an organization can benefit from that teamwork. Differentiate between a democratic participatory leadership style and an autocratic leadership style. Describe each of the strategies used by employees to gain the upper hand during period of conflicts at their workplace. Obviously, these are questions about the workforce and is trying to teach these students about the working environment that they themselves need to prepare for, as they themselves will be there in a couple of years. How is that unimportant? This person said it much better than I could, honestly. The questions may seem easy, but students often struggle to explain basic concepts. That's why teachers need to guide and challenge them to think beyond the mental images they form and to articulate those concepts in clear definitions. A teacher's job isn't only to teach students new and interesting information. Sure, that is very important, but their job is to also make sure that whatever information is being taught in these lessons to these kids over a long period of time has stuck with them. That is literally the entire point of a test or an exam. Their job is to make sure these students have retained that information and to make sure that these students understand what is being taught, no matter how basic the lesson may be. And if kids are just downright refusing to cooperate, then that is not the teacher's fault. And it's unfair to pin this blame solely on the teachers when it's very clear that some parents just aren't parenting the way they should be. Because everyone is so consumed with their handheld devices now, a lot of parents are not checking whether or not their kids are doing the work that they're supposed to be doing, or aren't putting the phones down themselves to try and help with their kids' homework if needed, to become more involved with their education. Teachers can only do so much. They only get a couple hours in the day. The rest, that's up to the kid. And that's up to the parent.
On TV is what is on right now. This is the channel number. This is what is on. At 8 o'clock, it changes to something else. Can't pick anything else than what's here right now.
Realizing that TV on demand is one of the problems of modern parenting changed how I nanny. Having nothing good on gave us natural incentives to turn off the TV and do other things. That doesn't exist anymore. And that is precisely another issue with childhood nowadays. When my siblings and I were kids, streaming services did not exist. You either had Foxtel or you had free-to-air TV. That was it. So if we switched on the TV and there was nothing that we liked airing on Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network, we quite literally had no other option but to occupy ourselves in alternative ways to prevent boredom, such as getting crafty with paper, walking to our local milk bar to get candy with stray coins found around the house, riding our bikes up and down the hill that we lived on, jumping on the trampoline in our backyard, picking flowers outside and filling a little container with a hose to make potions out of, or reading Diary of a Wimpy Kid on the couch. That doesn't happen anymore. It's a TV or nothing. It's a screen or nothing.
This is why I do not like kids' goodie bags. I am so against them. So much junk. All of this came home today in a goodie bag from my son's class. All of this. And you know where it's going to end up? You got it. The trash.
Again, this is why I say these kids are just being raised differently. Because new age parents no longer embrace free fun in the form of a birthday party gift bag for their kids. And instead see it as a waste because the kid will eventually get bored of it. So there's no point in even bringing it into the house to begin with. Newsflash, people! That's actually what being a kid is all about! Playing with a toy, getting bored with it within a week or two, and then stuffing it in their toy box for the rest of its life. Yes, that will happen. But why not even let your kids have the chance to have fun with those toys for a little while? This is the exact problem that these kids are facing. Some of these parents don't want useless or noisy or colorful toys and gadgets around the house. So they immediately take them away when it's given to the child and just shove an iPad in their hands instead. Because that's just so much better, isn't it? Like, yeah, kids are gonna outgrow toys. That's natural. That happens to everyone. Does that mean you shouldn't buy your kid a toy? No, because they're gonna enjoy the toy while they have it. Okay.
I'm sorry, but am I the only parent that really can't stand baby clothes like these? Like, who in their right fucking mind wants hungry caterpillar clothing for their baby?
No! Clothes for toddlers that have colours and patterns? Lord, how dare you let clothes that relate to a baby's interests, such as the hungry caterpillar, because that's amongst the first books they read in life. How dare you let that be put on clothes for those same babies who read that book? Why are stores not putting business casual on the shelves for my 1-year-old? Bro, this is the most baby-looking clothing for babies that could ever possibly be made. And the fact that some of these new age mothers are saying things like, I just can't handle the character clothing. And that they want their babies' clothes to match the beige furniture in their lounge room is crazy, is it not? Firstly, a grown-ass adult isn't gonna want the hungry caterpillar on your clothes. Obviously, but that's why it wasn't made for you. That's why it's in a completely different clothing section to where your clothes are. But secondly, it's actually kind of crazy how those baby clothes are still more on the beige side of things. And yet, to these grey obsessed mothers, a splash of orange is still too much colour on these clothes. Like, nowadays, for whatever reason, brand name and blandness is what's being prioritized over efficiency or saving money. The fun one is $4 and the other plain one is $60. You can see why priorities are being mixed up. Yeah. It's also just kind of crazy to me, the cold environments that these kids are being raised in. Like, this house looks like a psychiatrist's office. This looks like a hospital waiting room. And kids are supposed to grow up surrounded by one color and one color only for years of their life? Like, I'm sorry, that can't be good for them. Okay, chill. Anyways, guys, thank you. Sorry, Pomeranian household here. Mum and Dad might have just gotten home and I'm the secondary human, so, you know. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Mwah. I love you all so much and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys!